I'm a little bit behind with my CFS fibromyalgia video, which I usually have out on Tuesdays. So today we're going to be talking about overcoming challenges and finding joy. So right now, what I'm going to be talking about is what is CFS? And I have shared this in other videos, but the things that really impact life with CFS, which is chronic fatigue syndrome, is the part of it is the fact that it's really hard to think, as you see. The fatigue is so extreme that it's like you've worked out a really hardcore workout and you've only done a very little amount of things, whether it's washing dishes, whether you actually can even wash dishes. Sometimes the fatigue is so great that you can't even do anything. All you want to do is sleep. Now, a lot of times we are perceived as being lazy. We are perceived as just not wanting to do anything. We're told that the illness is actually just made up in our head, and it really isn't anything. So part of my CFS journey is basically I was sitting at my son's soccer game, and I was just starting to feel really horrible. Another mom and I like to be loud and cheer on our sons and the rest of the team as they played. But I couldn't sit still, and I was just starting to feel really lousy. So I started going back and forth and rubbing my legs, and I just said to her, I'm going to go downstairs, because downstairs, we were up in the foyer. Downstairs, there was a bunch of tables that we could sit at. And so I told her I'm not feeling well. I'm going to go sit downstairs. And so she's okay, no worries. And I hadn't been feeling well for a little while, but this was different than any other time. And so I went downstairs, put my head on the table, and just waited until they finished. So when Raul came, he was coaching the kids, and so when Raul and Dominic came, Raul's my husband, he said, well, I'm going to take you to emergency. And I did call the health line, and I did let them know that I had pain up my arm, and I had pain as we got into the van. The pain started going down my side and into my right leg. Now, and I just felt just horrible. There was nothing. Yeah, I just didn't feel well at all. So the 411, the health line said, yep, go into emergency and just make sure everything's okay. So I did, and they did lots of tests on me when I was sitting there, and the doctor was doing motion tests on me and everything. He lifted up my right arm, and I felt like my whole, like I left my body, basically. I know that sounds weird, but that's how I felt. And I started crying because I didn't know what was going on. And so it was an RN that was working, which is fine. We've had lots of good experiences with RNs. Not RN, sorry, a resident doctor. So anyhow, he said, it's just stress. Now, when you say it's just stress, that makes it sound like it's nothing. So I didn't understand what he was saying. I didn't understand how much stress can have an effect on you. And he'd asked if there was different things in life that was, going on that was stressful. And I thought, no, like we just made a big move to Saskatoon, and this was in 2018. And no, so anyhow, there were actually a lot of struggles in the past, and sorry, I'm having a hard time just finding where to look on my video. I'm trying to do it better than before, but anyhow, so at that time, during that week, my husband had taken me into emergency on 3 different occasions, and by this time they were very frustrated that I kept coming back, which I didn't know I had a chronic illness. And at the last hospital I went to, they basically, because I was like, can't you guys find out what's wrong with me? And they said, we've done every test that we can, and it's stress. Now, maybe they told me it was chronic fatigue syndrome, but if they said those words, I would have had no idea what it was. And they also would have maybe mentioned fibromyalgia. No clue what that was either. So that didn't mean anything to me. The reason I say if they did tell me, because my doctor later, my family doctor later, after I've been back to him several times, says, well, in your notes from emergency, it says that you do have chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. And that is also what I've come to determine. And through all your tests that you've been to, I was through to, I had so many tests done, blood work and MRIs and CAT scans, and I was to the neurologists and had a spinal tap done, and had the laying down and standing up test to see how your heart reacts. Now, having a chronic illness is something that people can't see. And not only that, you become somebody who you're not. I was always, like I say, I'm quite sure I have ADHD. So I constantly was doing something. I couldn't just sit there and do nothing. People in your life that understand you and support you in your chronic illness is very important, because if you're with people a lot who don't understand what you're going through, or don't try to understand what you're going through, comprehend what you're going through, it makes a lot more stress on you, and isn't very helpful at all. So something that really is amazing to help you get through your days with your chronic illness is being positive. It's looking for experiences and positive thinking that will help you get through and move on to the next day, the next moment of your chronic illness. Focusing on gratitude and just small victories is something that will also be helpful to you. I'm sorry for looking away from you. Not my intention at all. Also, every time, for instance, that I'm able to do a little bit more work, that makes me happy. That gives me joy. So with these challenges of chronic fatigue syndrome or having chronic illnesses, you got to look for those positive times, those positive periods, those times of looking for hope, for having self-compassion, and just really learning to understand where you are at, to accept your limitations, to accept when you have to pace yourself or when you can't pace yourself, to accept when you need to slow down and just take a deep breath and relax. There's so many different things that you can do to get your mind off things, whether it's, like I say, doing my YouTube videos, whether it's painting, drawing, going for short walks, which I'm going to start doing now that the weather is warming up. Eventually, I'd like to bring my dogs out to dog parks again so that they can get their exercise again as well. but everything is one step at a time, and allowing yourself to just be where you're at. Just really accepting where you're at, and that's where I am. I'm in two different Facebook groups, one for chronic fatigue syndrome, one for fibromyalgia. And when people are just focusing on the pain, and sometimes it's really hard not to do, focusing on the fatigue, which again is sometimes really hard to do when you're right in the midst of it. But as you're doing things to help yourself to get past this, whether it's taking medications, taking supplements, vitamins and minerals, both, and you're reaching that point of being able to pace yourself and all that, try your best to focus on what blessings you have in that day, what you're able to do, whether it's standing up and walking for that day, whether it's walking back and forth from your room to the kitchen or to the living room, whether you're able to wash the dishes, to do a little bit of housework, or do your hobby. Just take joy in every moment of this, and know that there is hope for the future. The future is hopeful. My mother-in-law would say in Spanish all the time, as long as you have breath, you have hope. So I agree with that as well. And I just want to take this time to thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being a part of my journey. And I just want to say thank you and love you all. Love you lots. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.